Hey, good morning. As you mentioned, it is primary day in a few states. So let's start in Alaska. So there in Alaska, a highly watched primary is playing out, pitting both Republicans named Dan Sullivan against each other. That includes the incumbent, Dan Sullivan, who is seeking a third term. The race also includes former Congresswoman Mary Peltola. Now moving over to Florida. In South Florida, the 25th Congressional District, DSA-backed candidate Oliver Larkin is challenging Democratic Representative Jared Moskowitz, making immigration enforcement a central issue.
What it does is it endangers us. We do not need ICE to keep our communities safe. The United States was able to operate for over 2 centuries without a militarized immigration enforcement system.
And in Florida's redrawn 20th congressional district, self-described Democratic Socialist Elijah Manley is challenging longtime Democrat Debbie Wasserman Schultz, where ICE has also been a key part of that campaign.
I'm not a supporter of open borders, but I'm also not a supporter of having an agency kidnapping Americans off the street like ICE has, where you have untrained people, 19-year-olds, they pulled off the street and gave, guns to. That's not how we do things in America.
And for the Sunshine State's race for governor, Republican Congressman Byron Donalds is seeking the GOP nomination to replace term-limited Governor Ron DeSantis, while former Republican Congressman David Jolly is running as a Democrat.
Ladies and gentlemen, David Jolly's a Trojan horse for the Democrat Socialists of America. The reason why we are the #1 state in America is because time after time over the last 30 years, we have chosen common sense over crazy. And this November, we're going to choose common sense and republicanism again.
So again, these different races today playing out across the country will give voters not only in those states but around the country a bigger look into where both parties want the future to move come the midterms in November.
Starting today, I don't know why we haven't done this, and I have only myself to blame, I suppose. But starting today, we need to bring the memes back. Like enough. Jerry's back on. Starting today, ALX, we're having a meme for every single show. We're going to do it. We're going to do it for the chat. We're going to do it for the good of the country. We're going to do it for the good of the souls of those who work on this show. And we're going to bring the meme. We're bringing the memes back, okay? Bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it back. It's time to recapture a little bit of what are we fighting here and reorient the troops into what's the purpose of what we're doing here? What's the purpose of this show? What's the purpose of Western civilization and defending this whole place? And part of it is actually memeing. And the reality is that the freedoms that we have are because we can humiliate and make fun of our leadership class. We can use technology in order to mock them and denigrate them. And that's what memes are, really. And so this is the last show we're going to do without an actual meme. ALX, let me see. Do you confirm? Are we confirmed on this? Yes. Okay. ALX says almost. All right, fine. We'll talk after the show. I want a meme. I want a meme from now on. I guess we can have conversation. The reason why we stopped the beloved memes on the show is that they did some type of massive crackdown on social media on AI generated content, right? And there's just a huge waterfall effect of people who used AI in their regular content. So we had to let that crash. 10,000 channels got deleted effectively for using too much AI or using AI and not listing it. And so we wanted to steer clear of that. And now I want to bring the memes back. So we need to have that conversation. Enough of this. There's a lot of change that happened. A lot of it not because of us, but a lot of it because of the forces around us. And so now it's time to push back. And that's what we're going to do today. We've been disturbed a little bit by the news cycle about China and what's been happening with China. But more importantly, what's about to happen to America and China's effects on it. China already tried to run a Manchurian candidate last election. I'm not talking about Kamala Harris. I'm talking about the guy that was banging the daughters of CCP officials while he was studying in China, who speaks Mandarin and who wants to go back to live in China. His name was Tim Walz. The reason Tim Walz was chosen was because of his connections to China. And now we've learned from President Trump exactly how much they were intent on rigging our election and how they are actively doing it to this very day. And so, ladies and gentlemen, a absolutely critical inflection point in our country, how the communists will win and how perhaps they've already won, certainly with one party, and what's going to happen next, the absolute battle royale for the future of Western civilization. Today is Tuesday, August 18th, 2026. Disgraced former congressman's escapades with a Chinese spy are laid bare, but you already knew that Eric Swalwell banged a Chinese spy. What you didn't know was the establishment covering it up and the systems around that and why that is so important. We're going to connect all of the dots today. Disney sues Trump over retaliatory war on Jimmy Kimmel. Goodness gracious. Well, we're going to be in the middle of that. Look forward to my subpoena. Ken Paxton will be joining the show. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. You always need good people. There is a changing economy right now. It's changing for us. You just heard me talk about Jerry and memes, and AI has changed everything for us. We are in a state of dynamic flow at this company, constantly are. Tough to build a media company these days. Tough to keep the wheels on. You got to have good people. You got to have rock solid people that are willing to actually work, that are willing to actually lock in. ZipRecruiter gets you those people. ZipRecruiter ensures that in a time when things are massively changing, that the only thing that will actually win the day is, are you willing to grind? Are you willing to get up and actually do the work? We've been live on this show for, I don't know, ALX. What is the anniversary? We've been doing this for 7 years? Like, I don't know. What is it? We've been doing this for, how long have we been doing this for? Yeah. We've been trying to roll with this program and bring to you every single day, whether there's a news drought or whether it is us going live. I don't know, Klein, we went like live for 3 times. Like, what was the record? 3 times in a day? Like multiple hours, like 14 hours we were live. It's crazy, ladies and gentlemen. It's been fun. Anyway, you need good people that are willing to work. And this is how you save your country. This is how you save a nation. This is how you build a nation and how you maintain it and advance it. ZipRecruiter, ladies and gentlemen, has a new feature that shows the most interested and qualified candidates that you can see first. The biggest problem with hiring is sifting through thousands of resumes. ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology finds you candidates quickly. Try ZipRecruiter and meet great candidates who will go to the extra step for you. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get quality candidate within their first day. Try it for free today. ZipRecruiter.com/Benny. ZipRecruiter.com/Benny. Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, Klein's reminding me of all the Hunter trials, Trump trials, election night. And ALX, we announced on September 13th, 2021, when we started the show. Okay. So there we go. We started in reaction and response to the Joe Biden administration. And so let us jump in here, ladies and gentlemen, and just kind of move quickly through. We have Ken Paxton locked and loaded for the show today, and a lot to talk about. But it has so much to do with the state of the nation, because I believe what will happen in the future and what's already happened is that the right has gone through its populist moment. The right has gone through its moments of shucking the chains off of the establishment. Ken Paxton's going to be on. He just did this. He just unseated Cornyn right in Texas. And wasn't even particularly close. Make sure we have the Ken Paxton map on lock. But what's going to happen next is it's going to happen with the Democrat Party. And their version of MAGA, their version of America First, their version of Christian nationalism, whatever you want to call it. I have no problem being called a Christian nationalist. What they're going to do next is they're going to do their own version of this. It's going to be a pseudo-communism. It's going to be just communism. And it's the direction they were already bending. And their establishment is all broken. And they have no more capacity to stop what's about to happen to them. Bernie Sanders showed how weak the Democrat establishment was in 2016. Here's Bernie Sanders at the University of Iowa. This is 4,000 people at the University of Iowa packed in to listen to Bernie Sanders. Why? Because Barack Obama wasn't liberal enough. Barack Obama was president at the time. He'd been president for 8 years. And Bernie Sanders was able to draw crowds like the size of like a sporting event at my alma mater at the University of Iowa. You know, they had to turn away hundreds of people. Here, it's freezing cold outside. This is how popular Bernie Sanders was 10 years ago at the University of Iowa. What about today, right? When they have a boogeyman, they have Trump, they have ICE, whatever. How much more popular is this style candidate going to be that the Democrat establishment now, and you can go back and look and watch these Bernie Sanders rallies. I went to some of them. You know, I took this photo. He was filling arenas. He was filling arenas before Donald Trump. You can go check out Bernie Sanders going to relatively rural areas and people locking in for Bernie. This was popular way back when, and it will be extra popular. This is left-wing populism. You can call it communism, you can call it socialism, call it whatever you want, but it is seize the means of production populism for the left. Now, what happened to poor Bernie? Well, poor Bernie was wiped out by Hillary Clinton and the Democrat machine. That machine no longer exists to stop a candidate like this. You're going to see these election results, and you've seen them all across the country, in New York and in Michigan, and today in Florida, a bunch of socialists are going to win. Hillary Clinton was able to rig the election against Bernie. Bernie Sanders still got 14 million votes. Hillary Clinton won with 16 million. But as you can see in the DNC emails, they stole it from Bernie. I think they bribed him with a couple of houses, a couple of lake houses, a couple of book deals. But Bernie has passed the torch. Hey, Alex, do we have the ad? Can we put up the ad? AOC and Bernie. Do we have that? Pop it up. Bernie Sanders has realized Bernie Sanders is 84 years old, and he doesn't have any more fuel in the tank. And Bernie Sanders and everyone who was watching, and we were certainly watching, understood that he was passing the torch on to what's going to happen next. And what's going to happen next is going to be left-wing populism driven by AOC, who, by the way, ticks much higher than Bernie Sanders on the intersectional chart that the Democrats love. Bernie Sanders was and always will be an old, crusty white guy. Sort of representative of like the hippie boomer era libtard. But AOC is something entirely and wholly different. She is a brand new skin suit for this message. And I know that everybody has the instinct to just laugh off AOC. This is AOC and Bernie Sanders doing mega rallies together in stadiums right at the beginning of the Trump administration when Trump was at his most popular. I'm preparing you for what is about to happen. And this is something that you need to ignore at our own peril. Left-wing populism will be extremely popular. Now, we have, a tendency to laugh off AOC, and certainly there will be plenty of laughs to be had as AOC runs for president, which is precisely what she's going to do. Obviously, these are all the various accents of AOC.
I'm here today, brothers and sisters, with a simple message. We stand together, and we are not going back.
Donald Trump is a criminal.
This one's my favorite.
Who was found guilty of 34 felony counts of fraud. Liable for sexual abuse. Of course he's lying and abusing and manipulating the stock market too.
Okay, there'll be plenty of laughs, but who's laughing here? With AOC winning in the early polling and betting odds. AOC crushing it in early primary states. AOC leading the pack. AOC winning in the prediction markets, overtaking John Ossoff and Gavin Newsom. Who's laughing now as AOC is leaving open her 2028 options? Of course she is. AOC is saying, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time for a young socialist like me. Knowing that there's not going to be a Democrat establishment to stop her, are you going to run for president? I haven't ruled out that possibility. Look at how giddy. Look at how he can barely control himself.
This is something.
Look at these. Watch these journalists.
right now.
But I mean, do you see this as something? I mean, I know you said you're open to it. Is it a realistic possibility? For you?
I haven't ruled out the possibility, and I'm very humbled to.
The hair swipe, the staring at the floor. It's all done. She is running. She's definitely running for Congress. She's even pivoting herself against J.D. Vance already. It's going to be left-wing populism led by a bold, single, freezing her eggs Latina with the full blessing of the Bernie Sanders socialist tribe, which is more powerful than ever and is now fused with the Democrat establishment to create left-wing populism. AOC is going to be staffed, going to be flanked by the best the Democrat Party has to offer to make sure she doesn't give answers like this. Listen to this.
J.D. Vance just said in an interview that he thinks you are going to be the leading Democratic candidate for president in 2028. What's your response to that?
I mean, I hope he is. That's what I'll say.
But he's a Republican.
I hope J.D. Vance is the Democrat nominee. Okay. It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. She's disavowing woke 1.0. AOC is going out and claiming the intersectional and internet and memetic game. She's showing her true self on her Instagram with her shots and her workout videos, dumping her boyfriend, going for that, going hard for that childless cat lady that Kamala missed. Oh, AOC's going for it. The childless cat ladies didn't go for Kamala. I mean, they kind of did. But AOC's going full in. Understanding how depressed and demoralized the Democrat base is, how they have one generation to figure this out before they actually take themselves out of the gene pool because they're not procreating. We talked about this yesterday. And so they're going to capitalize on that misery. And they're going to win unless we do something about it, ladies and gentlemen. CCP intelligence official buys building steps from the White House. There's covert and there's overt. So a Communist Party sniper has bought the rooftop location across the street from the White House. Okay, weird. But while I don't think that they're going to try and put a bullet in Trump again, maybe they did the first time, missed, why is this allowed? Well, it's the same thing. Same thing. The Communist Party has been trying and running this operation on America as a soft target for the extent of my entire lifetime. They're proving that they can do anything. Watch, they'll run AOC. They'll run her and vote for her illegally, like they did with Kamala Harris in Michigan. A Communist Party member voted for Kamala Harris in Michigan, canceled out a Trump vote. We caught this Communist Party member, dead to rights, and then arrested him and then charged him with illegal voting and took his visa, took his passport, took his paperwork, and then the CCP was able to smuggle him out of America. Well, then who has the power? Who has the control in this country? Clearly, the country that is able to run a birth tourism operation here in America. This election cycle with AOC will be the first election cycle where the Chinese birth tourism will actually turn over into effect. 18 years ago, baby mills were started in this country, and now they can vote for AOC from China. They've never stepped a foot in America. They were born in Guam or the Philippines, and now Chinese Communist Party members can vote. And this is going to be the operation. It's an operation to say, I own you, and you can't do anything about it. And it's going to be everything from China's land grab to smuggling in 50,000 fake driver's licenses, to the students voting, to buying the house across from the White House, is literally saying, well, we're prepared to take you down from the inside. And we're going to be using not even Trojan horses, because they're not disguised at all. It's like marching the Greeks right into Troy. We've just opened the doors. We ran Tim Walz. Tim Walz had affairs with Chinese Communist Party members and daughters while he was in China. He worked in China. He says he went and spent his honeymoon in China. Guy got married in China. He was going to be the vice president. The guy speaks Mandarin. It was going to be an occupied government already. And for those of you saying, well, they're just looking for a better life, just down the road from me, Chinese Americans staged a terrorist attack on MacDill Air Force Base. 2 would-be asylum seekers had 2 children, anchor babies, in the U.S. And once those anchor babies grew up, they blew up a U.S. military station. Nobody ever talks about this. I guess the demographics don't work, or the headline doesn't work, or maybe we're just like too pathologically obsessed with being the, toll keeper of Hormuz, without realizing that, like, the enemy's already inside the gates here. A man and a woman who entered the United States illegally 3 decades ago were arrested by the Department of Homeland Security after their children brought explosives to a military base, trying to blow it up. Oh, okay. But I'm sure all the rest of the anchor babies will be very peaceful and not vote illegally in our election. 2013, CBS News reports Chinese parents had traveling to the U.S. to have anchor babies. 2013, wow. So these kids can now, they're so cute now, and they can grow up and vote for AOC. Chinese woman, 41, admits to running a birth tourism scheme in California that helps 500 pregnant Chinese ladies give birth in the U.S. She's been running this for 18 years. They'll be able to vote for AOC. U.S. territory turned into tropical maternity ward, produced thousands of American babies living in China. Would you look at that? California mayor Ellen Wang admits to being a Chinese spy, registers as a foreign agent. Elaine Chao has deep business connections to China at time of U.S.-Chinese competition. She made billions from China. She's Chinese, by the way. Details surface about Senator Feinstein and her Chinese spy who worked for her. Wow, so many Chinese spies in the Senate. Eric Swalwell back in the news because now it is confirmed that he slept with a Chinese spy. He admitted he slept with a Chinese spy. Top ex-aide to Kathy Hochul was Chinese spy. Kamala Harris's VP choice was Chinese spy. I'm a Stanford student. Chinese agent tried to recruit me to be a spy and steal American tech. Here they are voting in Michigan and then getting spirited away by Chinese intel. And here's all of our generals sitting down with other Chinese generals in the Pacific to do war games together. As Mark Milley snuck American battle plans out at the end of Trump's term. It's crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, what we learned about Eric Swalwell this week was that he did, in fact, knowingly have sex with Fang Fang. We learned this in the document. FBI planned on recruiting Fang as an informant. FBI knew Fang was tied to the Chinese military and state security. DOJ refused to prosecute despite evidence. Jack Smith oversaw the investigation and didn't do anything about this bribery scheme where Fang Fang was placing foreign spies inside of Congress. It was all here in the documents. So what are we going to do about this? Well, I'm just trying to set up exactly how well organized the communist subversion of America is and how close they are and how it's simply us and our movement that is preventing the wholesale collapse of not only this nation, but also the West. Because as America goes, I mean, it's done. Europe's already cooked. Europe's fried. And so this is a massive threat to our country. And I think that we should stop being the toll keeper in Hormuz. I think that we should focus dramatically and inwardly on Chinese subversion. President Trump did this 2.5 weeks ago with an address where he talked about how China, the biggest player in the biggest subversion of our democracy, of our elections. So time to do something about that, right? Like, whoa. Trump had all the documents from the CIA, and that's what everybody agreed on. And who will they help in 2028? Well, I can all but assure you that it's not going to be J.D. Vance. And I can tell you that what's going to happen next, that they've already set it up. What's going to happen next has already happened. They're gonna run AOC as their left-wing populist, and it's going to be the full communist takeover. It's already happened. And so, do we have the will to stop it? That is the real question. Joining me now is Ken Paxton, who stopped, obviously, the establishment, the Republican establishment that is constantly selling out to China, constantly selling out to our enemies, John Cornyn in Texas. And he's running against a Manchurian candidate himself, James Tallarico in Texas, who is espousing, as we now know, to be the kind of diatribes that China tried to lace into our society. These are what the documents revealed from the president. BLM, transgender madness, the destruction of the moral fabric of this country. That stuff is funded by China. That stuff comes from our enemies. Iran is there in the mix too. Russia's there in the mix too. So is Venezuela. But the driver of all of it is the East, is China. And anyway, Ken Paxton is running against the epitome of this, the literal human embodiment of it all. Okay? So that's what woke is. This is the subversion, and Ken Paxton is a man trying to stop it. So here we go. Let's talk to Ken. Ken, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Great to be back. And everything you've said hits home here in Texas, unfortunately, right now.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, Texas is at a boiling point for all of this. It's like Texas. I'll be there the end of the week, but it's unrecognizable driving around from somebody who grew up in Texas, somebody who knows Texas well. How do you stop the subversion of what it looks like and feels like to be a Texan?
Yeah, I think it's the education. I don't think Texas is where people want it to be, the left. And this guy that's running is everything you described. He's a left-wing democratic socialist. He's in line with AOC. He is that guy. And he uses the same language that you're talking about. He calls us Christian nationalists, and he rails really against everything that we believe in, but he's not doing that now. And as he's running in a general election, he knows that his views, if uncovered and if exposed, will not allow him to win this election. He's polled it, I polled it. So he's running as a moderate Democrat, but that's not what he's done for the last 10 years in office. That's not what he said in interviews. Whatever the topic is, the transgender, all the things that Chinese want to do, he voted against any bill that would have stopped the Chinese from owning land in Texas. He pushed the transgender movement. He pushed the boys and girls sports movement. He fought for higher taxes on us, state income tax. I mean, he fought to get rid of prisons. I mean, this guy and he voted against every single bill related to protecting our border. So this guy is AOC incarnate, and that's what we're dealing with in Texas. And he's because people don't know, and they're not aware of his positions, and the media is not going to talk about it. That's got to be my job: raise the money and expose his views.
Okay, so how is that going? I mean, it seems like such a slam dunk, but it's a tough environment out there right now because. Please.
Yeah, no, it's a tough environment. Midterm election, difficult for the party in power, but we also had a structural disadvantage in that the legislature a few years ago created a 3-month runoff instead of a 4-week runoff, which sounded like a good idea to help the military, but it really has hurt anybody that has a runoff. So my opponent had 3 extra months during prime fundraising season to go out and raise $30 million, mostly from California, or at least a high percentage of it from California, maybe up to half. And that was like $30 million. I was out spending money. And so when June 1st rolled around, right after my runoff, I was at $0. He was at, he just raised $30 million. So he could start spending in July, whereas I'm still trying to accumulate and waiting for more help to come in. And I'm telling you the truth. I have no doubt if we can expose him with the right messages about what he believes, he won't win Texas. But if we don't take advantage of that and we don't have the opportunity to expose it, then he's got a chance.
You see the number of people that vote against Sharia law in Texas, that vote against the Islamization of Texas, that show up at these city halls and that demand that they stop building these super centers and these super mosques and stuff. And I think McKinney was one of the more recent news. I think it'd be pretty obvious to expose Tallarico for his heterical and blasphemous views on Christianity. Because obviously Texas is still very much Christian. There's still Christ in the hearts of people in Texas. Some of the biggest churches in the world are in Texas. How do you plan on telling the story about James Tallarico and like his very perverse views on Christendom?
Yeah, I think that's another message. It's one of the 6 or 7 main themes, whether it's the border law, his hatred of law enforcement. This is one of the things, his hatred of Christianity. He said, I am a Christian, but I hate Christianity. He comes up with the most insane views of abortion and how Mary consented to basically having Jesus. Therefore, abortions, late-term abortions should be allowed biblically. He talks about being you can't be a Christian and support the oil and gas industry. He talks about we put the 10 commandments. The legislature put the 10 commandments in all of our schools. He called that idolatrous and deeply unchristian. And these are the types of things that James Tallarico believes in his soul and his heart, but he's certainly not running on those now. And those are, again, it's up to us to raise the money and get the message out, because the mainstream media, you're doing a great job, but the mainstream media clearly doesn't want this exposed. They don't want to talk about his record. They don't talk about his record. They focus on attacking me. That's just the way the mainstream media is, the fake, as Donald Trump calls it, the fake media.
We've seen some pretty disturbing signs in Texas and obviously some major changes and some breaks in Texas culture. And it's been tough to watch. And the people of Texas are crying out to make Texas, Texas again. How are you going to do that as a senator? I know that you guys just passed a SB 4, I think, that allows for Texas to actually do internal immigration enforcement and deport your own criminal aliens, which I think is, of course, something that every state should have.
Absolutely, we should have it. Especially when the federal government doesn't do their job. When under Joe Biden, clearly inviting people into our state, and we were the main, unfortunately, source of immigrants coming through our 1,265 miles of border. So yes, we have a right to defend our own state. If the federal government is not going to do it, I can guarantee you that the founders the states that created this country and created the Constitution, they never envisioned that the federal government would just back off of its duty to defend a state and say, well, you can't do anything about it because we created laws that say we defend it, and now we're not going to, but because we made the laws and we're not going to, now you can't. That never would have flown. And so I've never bought into this idea that we can't defend ourselves if our federal government fails to do that, which they absolutely did for 4 years of Joe Biden.
So what are you going to do in the United States Senate to ensure that Texas will remain sovereign? I mean, everybody is watching what's happening in Ceuta right now. And while it's horrifying to see what an open border looks like and how quickly this little Spanish enclave becomes the third world, that is precisely what happened to the Rio Grande Valley. That is exactly what happened to Texas.
Yeah, I think pushing policies and pushing laws that protect states' rights, protect our own sovereignty. Look, this is a government that was a country that was formed by the states. They created the federal government. They gave them limited powers, and everything else was left to the states. And so there's been this push, for a couple hundred years now, especially in the last 75 to 100 years, to move everything away from the states to the federal government. And that's just not the way we were set up. And that's something that I will fight for. And I have, as Texas Attorney General, I mean, that has been much of my theme through my 11 and a half years in office as Attorney General, is to fight for state rights, to push back and to say, hey, the 10th Amendment really does matter.
So maybe you can, maybe you can expound on that, and because obviously there's major Islamization and then major also H-1B fraud that's happening, throughout Texas. It's like communities becoming totally unrecognizable, and a lot of people get sort of alarmed at watching the number of mosques that are being built in some of these, larger, Muslim super cities that seem to be completely off the grid. It seems like Texas is being colonized. Do you view it that way? Again, how do you keep Texas, Texas?
Yeah, I mean, I think on the federal side, those H-1B visas have been abused, and we obviously have no control over that, other than I've sued several companies for committing fraud as it relates. So I can sue over fraud. I just can't sue over the actual federal program. So we're doing what we can on the federal level. I mean, I'll be asking questions, the first day I get there about these things and why they're being abused, and reining them in so that we don't have this tremendous abuse, because I think it's had a big impact on Texas, and it's had a big impact on the country. And we want to make sure that this country is protected. We don't want to become Western Europe. We don't want Sharia law to control our laws. That's basically been the idea in Western Europe. And certainly that's something we're going to fight here in Texas. And I've been fighting that since we sort of uncovered this happening. So we will not let it happen in Texas, at least not. I will not let it happen. We will all fight together. I do not believe that they will take over Texas. I'm very optimistic about our ability to fight back. The rest of the nation, I don't know, but at least Texas.
Well, it's good to hear somebody talk like that. I mean, you defeated John Cornyn, and I don't want to do sour grapes here, right? Obviously, be a gracious winner, and you'll be a gracious loser as well. But John Cornyn released an ad where he was talking about how much amnesty he needs to give everyone. You obviously don't agree with that. The amnesty would, of course, allow people to vote illegally in the country, and that's happening. It's happening in Texas, no doubt. It's happening everywhere, right? It's happening in blue states. And that's not a knock. It's just, I think, really hard to catch. And so you defeated John Cornyn, and mainly because people couldn't believe it, that he wanted amnesty for illegals to reward people that come here illegally. Is the math? Oh, my God. Dude, bro, that's very impressive. That's sending a message, right? That we want the SAVE Act, we want the Senate, we want a senator that actually represents us. Can you crystallize, now that we're a couple of months out of this primary, can you crystallize for us, what is it that you are going to do in DC that's going to be so radically different? Clearly your state wants different.
Well, you'll notice that, Matt, by the way, I did lose 2 counties out of 254, and one of them was Travis County, Austin. Not shocking. And I lost one other county by, it was the widest margin of victory for Cornyn. I lost 75-25, but I lost, if 3 people would have changed their vote, I would have won. So those are the 2 counties.
You can see it right there. Yeah. Okay. So it's 6-2. That's right.
So, see, I just needed 3 people to change their votes, and I would have won it. And
dude, you could have that would have been the easiest door knock ever.
If I just would have known, right? So it's kind of funny. Yeah. So, I mean, I have a very different vision. The first thing and the most important thing to me is the Save America Act. And I don't just say that. I've been fighting voter fraud in Texas for most of my time as Attorney General. It's a real problem here, and it's a real problem in the country. I fought off the whole mail-in ballot scheme where they tried in all these liberal counties during COVID to mail out ballots to everybody, and we were in major litigation, which we were at a disadvantage in liberal courts. And we had liberal courts of appeals that were trying to hold us up, and we had to basically find a way around them because we couldn't get a ruling in time before the election. They were going to mail them out anyway. So once they were out, the genie was out of the bottle. So if we don't fix our federal elections, if we don't require photo ID, if we don't require that the voter rolls be purged of non-citizens and dead people, and we don't fix this mail-in ballot fraud, which is massive, it's the easiest way to cheat because you can mail them out to anybody. No one knows whose turn. Then they tell you, well, you can't prove voter fraud. Well, the reality is they're right because of the way they've done it. They set it up that way. So I'm convinced that if we don't fix that, nothing else that I say is going to matter. We're not going to fix the budget. We're not going to fix healthcare. We're not going to deal with China. We're not going to deal with, the judiciary and making sure that we have great. We're not going to have that opportunity, because once they rig a few more elections, and let me tell you, I truly believe elections are being stolen every election in most of the Democratic states, if not all. And that's the design. They get a few more states, and then we'll never be able to pass the Save America Act, and then it is over. We won't be able to have fair elections. And we'll all know it. They'll try to tell us it's not true, but we will know in our hearts that this is not going the way it should.
You've seen this from the inside as the Attorney General. How do you think they steal elections in these states? Obviously, everyone was kind of amazed at the results with Francesca Hong in Wisconsin, right? Like classic late night. The flash drives don't work. We just lost all the votes. Too bad. The person who was down by 30 points the day before the election, now he's your governor's candidate. Like they kind of turned the machine on her, right? It's amazing.
Yep. Well, look, there's lots of ways they cheat, but it's usually in these big Democratic counties where they can hide votes, and they do it all kinds of different ways. But the easiest way to do it is just mail out ballots to everybody, and then go, if you're the election administrator, you know where those ballots went, and just have people go collect them, and they sign them, they vote for them. We have no way to prove that the person that sent in a mail-in ballot that was just randomly sent out to everybody, we have no way to prove that person actually voted. So that's the easiest way. But there's certainly they're very creative in how they do this. And just like you said, we had a Chinese spy who was voting, and that has been a plan. We went after a birthing center here in Houston, suing them, and we found out really through AI. We went to China basically with our AI, and we figured out that they were advertising to have births in Texas. And so we've sued them to stop them from lying to the public. I'm limited to suing under kind of fraudulent sort of statute. So I have to do what I can, but they're clearly doing that all over the country. And they've been doing it, as you said, for almost 2 decades. And it's going to come back to haunt us.
That's crazy. So you found advertisements for Chinese birth tourism right across the river from Mexico and Texas to go.
Yeah, it was in Houston. This birthing center was in Houston. They've been running it for, like you said, almost 20 years. I think it was right around 18 years. And I didn't know about it. The only reason we found it is we were using AI, because I don't have a Mandarin Chinese speaker. I don't have a Mandarin speaker in my office. So we used AI to interpret these ads, and we figured out that they were what they were doing.
Oh, it's utterly chilling. There's so many sequential problems on so many fronts. It's hard to actually pin them all down. I did want to ask you a quick question about Dr. Fauci. A lot of state AGs are saying we should get together and sue him. What's your take on that strategy in order to get around the federal pardon?
I like the strategy. I really do. I think if, unfortunately in Texas, I have begged the legislature to give the Attorney General original jurisdiction for criminal cases. The only thing I've gotten back, I've been able to do voter fraud. I've gotten human trafficking. It took me years to get it. And we do any kind of abortion. But other than that, like, I can't bring a case like that. It would be up to a local district attorney, which we have in each county. Many of those are controlled by George Soros. So unfortunately in Texas, it's one of the worst problems we have. The Attorney General should, and I'm leaving, the next Attorney General should have the authority, if DAs are not going to prosecute crimes, which they don't in many of our big cities, about 70% of the population controlled by a George Soros elected DA. If they're not going to prosecute crimes, the legislature should give a backup, like they do in other states, concurrent jurisdiction, so that AG can go prosecute when we have district attorneys who refuse to prosecute crimes every day.
Man, that's exactly right. It's like the damage that's been done by these Soros attorneys. DeSantis ripped the guy out. He was in Tampa. You oversaw Tampa, and there was a George Soros attorney that was running this place, and he wouldn't enforce state laws, and he had to be removed. He was removed by the governor.
I wish we could do that. I mean, we are
thrown in the trash.
We are in a situation that the legislature could easily fix. All they have to do, and I'm still begging them to do this as I leave, give original jurisdiction, concurrent. So if the district attorney wants to prosecute something, fine. But if they're not going to do it, or they're committing a crime right now, if they're committing crimes, who's going to prosecute them? No one has the authority to do it. So if you're a district attorney in Texas, you can allow your friends to commit crimes, and you can commit crimes yourself. It's very difficult to do anything about it because we don't really have accountability for district attorneys. And look, I'm not saying they're all bad. I'm just saying we do have some major problems because our major population centers are controlled by district attorneys that George Soros elected, and there's no dispute about that.
Yes. Why do we allow a foreign-born billionaire who has no allegiance to America whatsoever and who has the shadiest past you could possibly imagine? Why do we allow him to control so much the election? There has to be some type of criminality to what's going on. I guess he is being investigated right now. There was a little blip about that, but I haven't seen anything since. Do you think that George Soros should be fully investigated? Would you do that in the Senate?
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to ask. I can't do it as Attorney General because I don't have the authority to do it under our laws. That's another thing. I'd love to have had the opportunity to go find out what this guy's doing because he's definitely influencing our elections in Texas big time, and in a very crucial place. Criminal law is a crossroads of politics these days. They use these DAs to go after people like me and Donald Trump and others who are causing trouble for their radical socialist agenda.
Wow. So in the Senate, you'll have subpoena power. I mean, in the Senate, you don't have to worry about this, right? Your hands will not be tied if you're on the right committee and you can oversee these things. And there's nothing more important than like getting foreign money out of our elections. There's also a guy from China named Neville Singham, who's a left-wing communist billionaire who's doing this kind of stuff. But George Soros is still king of the castle. So you're committing to
absolutely
fighting.
And
George
I want to
Soros
find out about ActBlue too. I've tried to sue them. I'm in the middle of a lawsuit with them. I encourage the Department of Justice to go after them as well because I know that they're violating federal law. I know that they're violating our laws, and that they are hiding this. That the foreign money is flowing through to the Democrats, and of course, Democrats love it. They don't care about laws as long as they have power. So, and they don't follow the laws. So they have definitely hidden billions of dollars coming in from overseas through ActBlue. And we have so far, I'm in a big fight. I've got this Massachusetts court that stepped in to try to block my case in Texas that relates to Texas law. So, we're in that little battle, and it's taken a while, but I hope, I may not be able to finish by the time I'm out, but I hope that the next Attorney General will finish this case and find out what's going on with ActBlue. And as soon as I get to the Senate, they're going to be on my radar screen as well to find out, because my opponent is raising unbelievable amount of money from ActBlue, and no Republican has the ability to do that. So where is this money coming from? We don't know.
I know that we're up against a hard out, and I really look forward to you having. It's amazing how you getting to the Senate, how effective you would actually be, because you wouldn't have these constraints that limit you on a state level. You'd be able to use federal power, and we've seen how effective that is. Frankly, with Rand Paul is a great example of this. Ron Johnson. When senators are willing to actually use their power, you can do some major good. Chuck Grassley has done some incredible work in oversight. But I wanted to ask you about one more local thing that I just was amazed at. It's a beautiful story, a chilling story, an unbelievable story, but like a beautiful one. It was McKenna West, an Alaskan surrogate pregnancy, and she had this pregnancy. She was being paid by a California couple. The child was diagnosed with a heart defect, and you gave her refuge in Texas. The parents wanted her to abort the child, and this is now like a huge story. And you're saving this baby's life. You actually say you literally saved this child's life. She's had the baby now, right? And Texas has given her sanctuary and refuge against people that wanted to murder her baby. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. Yep. She came to Texas, and we intervened in her case. They were trying to force her to leave the state and have an abortion. And we stepped in and got a court order blocking her. And then we got a court order requiring that the baby be treated, life-saving treatment be done. So that baby had surgery yesterday, the first surgery of 3 on his heart. And as far as I know, it went well. So yeah, that baby is alive today because we stepped in and we said, this is not good. We're not going to let this baby get taken away to be, torn limb from limb after it's been chemically killed. We're not going to let it happen. So I'm really grateful. Things like that, you really feel like you're making a difference when you can actually save, whose life you saved.
Yeah. It's stunning. I think it was a California couple, and the woman was from Alaska, and she wasn't going to be able to help it, and they were demanding. It's a real morally blurry line with surrogacy, frankly, right? And
Yep.
That's why a lot of people have a lot of problems with surrogacy. But man, your state intervention, there is no other way to describe it. Your state intervention saved this child's life.
Yeah, and we're hopeful. He's got 2 more surgeries, one in about 4 to 6 months, another one 18 to 5 years. So, obviously we're going to try to figure out how to help that baby survive. But I am grateful that, at least we've got a baby that's alive and in good health. And of course, if I was the parents, I wouldn't want to have to tell that story someday when that child figures out from internet stories that the parents were trying to eliminate him.
It's so awful. It's so grotesque. The way that we treat children in this country, it's so bad. Maybe just a parting. I'm just doing this because of my wife, actually. Parting message to Maha. I mean, you've been such a fighter on this. She tells me every night at dinner, it's like he's the one guy who's actually fulfilling the Maha promise to fight these companies that are poisoning us. I guess it's kind of in line with the story, saving children.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. We've done so many things, whether it's with dyes in cereals, whether it's with fluoride, whether it's with these PFAS stuff, and we've got an alignment. I had a little conference in my office with about 18 influencers that are dealing with different parts of Maha, and we're going to be working more with them, not just now, but when I go into the Senate. So I it's funny. Your wife brought this. I find out about this stuff. I have 3 daughters that talk to me almost every day about some issue related to health, and so I've learned a lot from them, and that's been a big part of my motivation. They've taught me, and so I've connected to some of these influencers because of my daughters. 3 of my daughters who just really encouraged me to go that direction. And it's been very satisfying because we've gotten some major changes that will affect the health of children and adults. So I'm excited about it.
Using government for good. A lot of reasons to vote for Ken Paxton. We've been on the Ken Paxton train for quite a while. And ever since John Cornyn attacked us on social media. Not a great plan, honestly. Attacking your own side in the Biden era. Yeah. Make sure you keep your friends close, right? And Ken Paxton is a friend.
And next time, can we go to Kennedy County together and we'll get those 3 votes?
Let's go.
You'll knock a door, I'll knock a door.
I'll be in I'll be in Dallas this weekend, so I hope that we can connect. I hope that there's a way that we'll check the campaign schedule, but it'd be great. We were on stage in Baylor. We were on stage in Baylor a couple months ago, and let's do it again. Let's run it back. Everybody vote for Ken Paxton. He's got hundreds of thousands, 500, nearly 600,000 subscribers here on X. Follow him and fight with those who are fighting for us. The biggest and most important fight, I think, is going to be for Texas in the future. So please support Ken Paxton.
KenPaxton.com. Go on and help us. We need the help.
There it is. Thank you, Ken. Godspeed.
Godspeed. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a next special guest that we're excited to speak with. Has some breaking news, actually, to share with you. But before we jump in there, very quickly, our show brought to you by Advantage Gold. We talk about them a lot. Advantage Gold is your hedge for what will unfortunately happen. ALX, do you have that inflation chart that was ping pong balling around X? I should have asked you about that. Where did our national debt come from? And it shows sort of charted out like which administration adds to the national debt. And it's going to hurt your soul because what you will see is that Democrats and Republicans are both incredibly guilty of racking up the national debt. And you're not going to be able to point to one side. Obviously, Democrats are worse than Republicans, but not by much. And it sucks. And this goes all the way back to like the earliest days. This goes all the way back to like Eisenhower. And so this is a decision to wreck the dollar. Expect 5% inflation for the rest of our lives. There it is. Yeah. And it's the national debt of America. So just make sure that you're investing in something that's real and that withstands the test of time. There it is. Thank you, Klein. Perfect. Look at that. Woof. And you can see here, Reagan, but where did it really skyrocket? Reagan, Bush, it sucks. Breaks your little heart. Then Bush 43 did a real number. I mean, nobody had ever seen it like that. Do I dare say something nice about Clinton? How like Clinton kind of like you could see the trajectory under Clinton, sort of the delta mean was like kind of bending maybe towards some level of fiscal responsibility. Probably certainly because of the GOP Congress. But then look at what Obama did. Look at what Biden did. Biden spent as much as Obama in 4 years. Obama had 8. Look at that. Oh, it's atrocious. It's awful. And then it just becomes the norm. And so invest in gold, ladies and gentlemen. Tough times, tough times when you look at it, when you look at these trends. Who has the guts to fix it? Text Benny to 85545. That's Benny to 85545. Get a free gold investment kit and learn a simple IRS-approved way to move your 401k or IRA into physical gold tax-free. Do it today, ladies and gentlemen. Jump on in. And as we travel to Texas this weekend, Patriot Mobile will be in our back pocket. Patriot Mobile will be traveling with us. We'll be going to some hard-to-reach places, and we hope to go to Starbase and talk with some of the sculptors at Starbase that are builders. It's going to be very cool. We have some other very neat things lined up for our Texas swing. Ladies and gentlemen, Patriot Mobile will be there for us no matter where we are in the world. They are the backbone of the company. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT. Use promo code Benny for a free month of service. patriotmobile.com/Benny, 972-PATRIOT. To become a Patriot today, to sign up and use the only Christian conservative wireless provider in the world, actually. Okay. Let's go ahead and jump on over to Minnesota. A funny little thing here in our stack. Minnesota man honored as outstanding refugee charged in Medicaid fraud case. Oh, okay. Got it. He was the outstanding. You're going to be shocked to learn that he was the outstanding refugee given an award from Tim Walz. Tim Walz handed this Somali. Samalan Ahmed Elmi was charged last week with 3 counts of aiding and abetting by swindling and 5 counts of aiding and abetting by false representation. He made his first court appearance on Monday. The co-conspirators, Golden Valley, have also connections to a sex trafficking ring. So great people. Why are they doing this? I think it's kind of important to take a second and understand this. Like in Muslim nations, they force Christians to pay a tax to there it is. Yep, there you go. In Muslim nations, they force Christians to pay a tax to Islam. There's a name for it. What is the Muslim name for that? It starts with a T. They force any denomination that's not Muslim to pay effectively a duty, a tax to the mosque. And that's the tax you have to pay for not being Islamic. And Muslims in America view welfare theft as that right. They view it as a version of that. How much can you take and how much can you grift from the system run by Christians, run by the West? They view welfare fraud as the tax that Christians must pay to them as like reparations. Is that the name? Yeah, Jiza. A type of taxation levied on non-Muslim subjects of the state governed by Islamic law. Mind putting that up, Klein? Thank you. I'm not sure I'm saying it correctly, but yes. Ziza. Yeah, Aziza. There it is. If you go and you listen to enough of the sermons inside of these mosques, I mean, you go talk with Muslims in the street, that's what they'll say. That's what they'll tell you. They'll tell you that this is the welfare fraud is something that they're doing as a religious right, and that they're becoming millionaires and multimillionaires as a tax that Christians must pay to them. It'll make you furious, actually, when you properly internalize that. That's how they see your nation. That's how they see us, as you need to be beholden to them when they're right now like 2% of the population. Be smart, America. We have a journalist who is joining us now and who will be exposing a little bit more of this, who just tried to vote in Anthony Rubin's name. He runs Muckraker. He tried to vote in Minnesota as a member of a Muslim terrorist group. So please welcome Anthony Rubin to the show. Anthony, welcome back to the program. Can you tell me, what did you learn in Minneapolis, Minnesota? And are there any limits on letting terrorists vote?
Well, it certainly doesn't seem like it. To the extent there are limits, they are few and far between. You know, what we did this past week, 1 week ago, actually to the day on primary day in Minneapolis, Minnesota, myself, James O'Keefe, and Cam Higbee, we all descended on Minneapolis, Minnesota at once. And the idea with this is sort of like a Justice League concept that James O'Keefe came up with. It's where we all, like multiple journalists, descend on one story. And then over the course of a week or so, we all just keep hammering the same story so that, you know, creatures like the Secretary of State, Steve Simon, from Minnesota, can't ignore the story. Because one story, okay, you know, call James a provocateur. You have one from Cam Higbee, and then you could come after him. But if you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stories, it becomes a lot harder to ignore. And so that's the idea. So the story that I contributed to this effort was I went into a polling place, and I was just, you know, dressed normally. And beside me were 2 individuals who were dressed as Muslims. And I told the worker that they had just been flown in recently from the Gaza Strip, that they were members of Hamas, that I was unsure of their citizenship status. And people can watch the video, but I was told very simply, you know what, as long as you quote unquote vouch for these people, they will be able to vote today. And that's basically it. It was the most incredible thing. And I said to them about like 3 times, I was like, just so you're aware, like they're members of Hamas, they just got here. And, you know, they just kept telling me the same thing, which is, look, as long as you vouch for it, that's as far as our check goes.
It's an insane rule. I mean, it's like, what other rule in our system allows you to vouch for it? Can you go in and vouch for somebody that they didn't commit murder? You know, Carmelo Anthony, let's take a murder case right now. I'm going to just vouch that Carmelo Anthony didn't stab the guy, even though there's all this evidence that he did. I mean, in what universe does that stand up to a legal system? How can you just vouch for a terrorist, and you're saying that the terrorist is an illegal alien as well? So clearly somebody who's not registered to vote?
Yep. Yeah, that's right. I mean, you could extrapolate this out. I mean, there's so many different comparisons you can make. I mean, what about driving a motor vehicle? I don't feel like taking my driver's test. Just somebody please vouch for me, right? You could go on and on and on. So it's the most ridiculous thing. Now, you know, there's a few concerning aspects about this. One of them is that this is not new. I mean, this has been going on. This has been a law in Minnesota for 53 years. This has been going on since 1973, if you could even imagine that. And there have been efforts to shut this down, but all of those efforts have fallen on their face. Those efforts have come more recently over the last 15 years or so. And then you have people like the Secretary of State, Steve Simon, who has made threats to James O'Keefe and Cam Higbee, and maybe myself, we'll find out. I mean, my video was just put out last night. You know, making veiled threats of potential legal action. So this is how these people react. Anybody that hasn't been to Minnesota needs to understand, or Minneapolis rather, needs to understand, this is like ground zero for leftism in the United States. There's comparable cities. I mean, maybe Portland could be comparable. Maybe Seattle could be comparable. But I mean, Minneapolis is bad, man. It is a stronghold of hostile foreigners and Antifa agents and their leftist minions in positions of power in the government, like Tim Walz. And so, you know, you try to expose these things and you are met with a hostile response from people that are sitting in positions of power in the government. It could get kind of scary, to be honest with you, because they can throw the book at you if they want to. And it'll be very interesting to see what happens as far as, again, these veiled threats that have been made towards the journalist of the Justice League on this story. And we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, what would prevent, I mean, so what you're exposing here is that nothing would prevent the state of Minnesota from allowing a bunch of ISIS members or jihadis to vote, and there's no barriers for an illegal to vote, for somebody who just came here off a plane to vote, even if they are a member of an extremist group. That's what you're exposing.
That's correct. And I would say it goes further than that. Yeah, I mean, that is correct. Absolutely. But, another thing that just dawned on me as we were doing this is that these election workers really just don't have a clue about the rules and laws surrounding the elections that they're administering. Like, we would ask them questions unrelated to this. For example, one of the questions we asked is like, hey, right, one of the supposed Muslim men who was standing next to me said, hey, I'm actually still serving my sentence in a halfway house. I'm serving my felony sentence in a halfway house. And it's an edge case, granted. But if you're serving a felony sentence, it doesn't matter where you're serving it, in a halfway house or in a penitentiary, you can't vote. These people we had people tell us that it was okay to vote from a halfway house. We had people that simply didn't know. We had people that had to make a phone call, and the people that they were making phone calls to had to make a phone call and then another phone call, because these people just don't even understand the rules. And so that to me was maybe the most concerning thing. You have people in these positions that are administering elections with green and pink hair, giant gauges in their ears, nose rings, like not professional. Frankly, I don't really care if you have green hair. I mean, I'm not about it, but if you're administering an election, there should be some professionalism to it, right? We should have standards, but you have people that are dressed like creatures administering the elections, and then they don't even know the rules surrounding the elections they're administering. So it's all very concerning. It goes beyond just the stories that we put out. You could only imagine, even if there was not nefarious intent, which there definitely is nefarious intent from a lot of people that want to see a vouching rule on the books. But even if there was no nefarious intent, just the fact that we have people administering our elections that don't really understand the rules and laws surrounding it right then and there, that should be enough cause for concern to say, listen, there's a vulnerability here. Things could slip through the cracks inadvertently. We got to put a stop to it. But, the leadership in Minnesota just simply does not care.
I don't know how you solve a problem like this. What do you do? Do you just assume that these elections are just going to be stolen in perpetuity and there's just nothing you can do? I mean, this is a system designed for fraud, right? And this is like the LA election. The architecture of the system is fraudulent. So de facto, you can't trust the results. So what are you going to do? Mass deportations, I guess, remigration and mass deportation, and then arrests, and those are the only solutions.
I actually completely agree with you. I think that you need to get it at its root. And what is one of the roots? There's many different roots coming out from this tree of corruption, and societal decline. But one of those is mass deportations. Absolutely. At least if we could get as many foreigners, illegal foreigners, out of this country as possible, we'll minimize the possible impact of, illegal foreign interference in our elections, right? I completely agree with you. We got to make arrests of people that are committing fraud. And, beyond that, we could see if the Save America Act has any legs. We will find out very soon. I know that James is up in Alaska right now doing, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but he's out there doing something very interesting. And there's going to be more coming. We're going to do our best. But, unless we have voter ID, unless we have some serious safeguards that are put in place surrounding our electoral system, I completely agree with you. We're reaching a point in this country where we really don't even know if the results of our elections are legitimate anymore.
That's right. Anthony Rubin, you've exposed this. It's horrifying. It's a black pill, but you got to be able to stare a problem in the face to see how bad it's gotten in order to fix it. And so that's the first step. Thank you. Everybody follow Anthony at Muckraker and his incredible journalism. Obviously, he's part of the Justice League. We've been talking about this with James O'Keefe, and we had Cam on, and it's like they're just doing incredible work. We'll support them every way that we can. Make sure that you're following along. Godspeed, Anthony.
Thank you so much.
Some days you just get a chance to wake up early. I was up at 5:30, probably more like 5, but I got downstairs like 5:30 this morning, and you just brew yourself a cup of coffee. And you just, for me, sit out on your back porch. Some people have a front porch. I got a back porch. And you sit out on your back porch and you just have your cup of coffee. And it's like, dude, if you're a parent, it's like the best part of the day. Blackout coffee is my coffee. This is the coffee that I brew in the morning. And this is the most peaceful and serene thing. You keep your phone off. You get your mind right, and you can get up, go do a workout. That's next. Get your day started. If you don't get your day started, it's like having weak knees or weak ankles, right? The whole rest of everything can collapse if you don't have a good foundation. And so get your good foundation in. Blackout coffee has the caffeine that fuels you, but also it is just like excellent, rich, dark coffee. It's something that is made right here in America. It's not run by a bunch of communists. It's not served to you by deeply ungrateful people that spin the iPad around and demand that you tip them 20% for just glaring at you the whole time and then voting to destroy the country. No. It's strong, smooth, and never bitter, delivered right to your door if you join their coffee club. So go ahead and do that today. If you've heard me talking about Blackout all this time, you still haven't tried it, man, what you waiting for? Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Use coupon code Benny for 20% off your first order. Blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Blackout Coffee is great coffee, great family, proud patriots. And you'll actually feel good about supporting it. You'll feel good after that caffeine jolt, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so let's wrap it up here. Interesting day. I don't want to be a downer, but I want to start signaling why we've got to refocus on the economy, why we've got to refocus on making people's lives better. The vice president said it as good as anybody. He said it on Friday in an interview. The way to fight socialism is not to wag your finger at people and to say AOC is a dumb bartender. The way to fight socialism is to make people's lives better. Lower gas prices, lower home prices, lower inflation, lower grocery costs. And that's the only way. Everything else is just going to destroy your argument, and you're going to like break capitalism for a generation. It's too bad, you know? Not that capitalism's a religion or anything, but capitalism is an extension of the freedom that we demand in Christ, the freedom of having free associations and freedom to be the best of what God wants for us. Marxism is a world without God, where the state is God. And Marx is extremely clear about that. So they're neither of them are perfect. Both of them have flaws, but only one of them is the way to give the greatest blessing to the people. And so it's sad when, you don't want that opportunity, or you don't want that messaging to be squandered, to be wasted. You know what happens under communism. You know what's going to happen next. I guess we'll see it in New York. I guess we'll see it in Texas too, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, the verse of the day, Proverbs 16:3. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. Such a beautiful verse. Like, especially when you're in times of searching, and I certainly am in one of those times right now. When you're in times of searching, like, just get down on your knees and pray to God. Read your Bible every single day. Pray to God. And God will bless your plans. Maybe they won't be what you had in mind, but God's going to guide you. And it might not be exactly the way that you see it, but if you commit to God right here, the Lord will establish your ways. Okay? You're going to know that you're walking upright onto victory, as we do every single day here on The Benny Show. So march with us. The victory is ours, and in the end, we win. So there's some positive thinking for you. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
It's The Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salt in all the libs, soul never sold. It's The Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny shows the storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.